Thanks.
Call the meeting to order.
Yeah.
So we have to say the pledge. For reporting out of closed session, we moved on the agenda from K4 to K1. That is the approval of district unaudited actuals to the perks of that section. And if you'd all join me for the pledge.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So thank you. Tell me something good, Ty?
Yes. I think Lily's students are not here yet, so we're gonna move on. And we'll hopefully, if they show up late, we can stop and take care of it. And then we'll go to new employees. So
Parking, that be it? No.
Yeah. Okay. I get to introduce my new teachers. Where's Lexi? Oh shoot. Okay. Well, I'm gonna introduce her anyway. Okay, so I have 3 teachers to introduce. I'm going to do it all at one time. Lexi has class, but Beth and Amy stand up. You get to put them standing up. So welcome Beth Rodriguez and welcome Amy Hogan. I preached this for those of you who were at back to school night and listened to my speech, and I put it in my welcome back letter because I love to advertise it. Every new teacher that we hired this year has a connection to this district. Lexi is a district alumni. She went through this district, and she's happy and proud to be a part of it. Amy is the sibling of Mr. Hogan, sitting over right there. So, again, another family connection that this is a great place to work. And finally, Beth moved here from out of state last year. She was instructional aide for us, and now we're lucky to have her teaching math in the classroom. So everybody's been fantastic. Our new teachers have been amazing, and I'm really happy to introduce them, and it's been a great start to the year. So thank you, new teachers, and welcome. Thank you. Welcome all very much. We have organizational updates.
we are going to forego organizational updates tonight because I have to be at Spreckles for the public hearing at 6 o'clock. So we're going to try to stay on a pretty tight schedule.
Sounds good. Let's do community. Okay, Billy Perry to talk about community funding transition and the loss of interdistrict transfer stations.
Hi, my name is Billy Perry. I have an interdistrict transfer student going to Toro School. And I just wanted you guys to know I understand you guys have a huge financial issue you guys need to solve. But I really want to encourage you to find other solutions besides the community funding program and to allow interdistrict transfer students. They're a big part of the community out here. We've become a part of the community, and I just urge you to look for other options and other solutions and alternatives to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Andrea Massey, SPED budget question.
The town hall meeting that we had last week, I found interesting. I come to a lot of meetings, so there was information that I hadn't heard before in terms of SPED and the budget and so forth. So based off of some of those numbers, I wondered if we had ever considered actually doing like special day class in our district to help combat some of those funds of what's going out to other schools. I know that you can't really share with confidentiality, but at some point it feels like maybe that it might be worth it to have special day class and bring it back into the district. And so I don't know enough about it, but I think that it would be nice to hear more about those things, especially as Joe pointed out in the meeting, that there seems to be an increase every single year of the needs in the district. So even if they stay how we are or go to community funded, it does seem like it seems like it's going to be a continual thing that we need to discuss. So I just wondered if that would be something that we might have to look at in the future.
Does have an answer.
Yeah, I can. You want to go, Tom? Go ahead. You take it.
I'm allowed to ask questions. Are you aware that we have discussed that? So,
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into special day on what we can provide staffing wise. The grade span. Remember that part of the law is that students have to be with grade level equivalent peers. So we would likely be looking at a potential for SDC at all 3 sites to make sure we balance it out. So we have to look at all those numbers, how old the students are. Remember, we're dealing with a really small handful of students. Okay, yes, the price is high, but we're dealing with a very small handful. So we have to watch the grade, the age, where they are, what school they're at. And that's kind of how we manage that. We have had an SDC before when we have the right span of grade students, when everything works out equally. We have had an SDC. We had one at San Bernardino 2 years ago. So if it works out, it is always my solution to try to find an SDC opportunity within the class, within the district. The other big part of that is staffing, is hiring a teacher. It often comes down to hiring a special education teacher, which is, arguably the hardest position to fill in any district.
All right. Then we have those are the 2, right? Just those 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Then with correspondence. Okay. And we're moving on to the public hearing for sufficiency of instructional materials.
Okay. Do you want to open it?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I have to open it
Grab it.
at 4:40.
what are we doing again?
Public hearing on sufficiency of instructional materials. So this is part of the Williams lawsuit that requires schools and districts to provide adequate textbooks and facilities and certificated teachers to conduct the educational program. And so this is the opportunity for any public input before we have the approval of our resolution for the sufficiency of instructional materials later in the meeting.
Thanks, Gina.
You're very welcome.
I'm just trying to do a little filler in between our seconds here for our public comment. Yeah.
Go ahead and close that public hearing at 4:42. And we're on to discussion and information items. First one being enrollment.
But before we get there, Lily, did your student
I
arrive?
think it'll blend in. If you enrollment on.
Oh, can you do it in the LCAP? Okay. So current enrollment is 739 students.
And J2 is report on district curriculum and activities.
So we just finished our first benchmark district grade yesterday.
Questions about that? Then let's do our LPAC report.
Nice. It'll blend nicely. So I have 3 students who reclassified this past school year, and that's a huge accomplishment. That means that they got 4s on the LPAC assessment, and the LPAC assessment is very rigorous, so that's a huge accomplishment. They also had good markings on their report card, and their teachers were in agreement as well as their parents. So the first student I would like to call up and congratulate is David Diaz. Come on up.
Give some advice. Give some advice too.
Congrats, David.
Congratulations.
Good job, David.
So David is now bilingual, which is fantastic. Good job, David. Our next student is from Brazil, and he speaks Portuguese, and he also is now reclassified, and that's Wagner. Come on up, Wagner.
Congratulations.
It's Wagner. That's an awesome name.
No, that's one more.
I know Amelia thing not here. I know parents have to work, but let's go and give her a round of applause. evening, I'm going to talk about the LPAC scores from last school year. So if you go on to, or I can do it. What is the LPAC? The LPAC is the English Language Performance Assessment for California. It is a requirement as a California public school that any student who enters the school that is speaking a different language at home other than English, they need to be assessed using the initial LPAC assessment that I administer. And each year they also need to take the summative if they do not pass the initial. So there's a huge scale that I have to rate them on, and that determines whether or not they move on and they are deemed EL, meaning an English language learner, or if they reclassify. This is the home language survey. So each secretary collects these when the parents sign their student up for our school district. They scan these over to me. I keep them in a folder, and it tells me which student speaks a language other than English at home. So if any of these 4 have a language other than English, that tells me, oh, they need to take the initial. I go through their CUME. If they've already been in a California school and they've reclassified, I then take that out. So the strategic plan goal, the objective as far as our English language learners is that all students who are identified as ELs will be reclassified as fluent English proficient within 4 years of entrance into the program, which I will go into the plan that I have going forward. But that's part of our strategic plan goal for our English learners. So how does one reclassify? It is a pretty tedious process. So I'm very proud of these students who did reclassify. They need to get a 4 on the initial or the summative. And so it's broken up into 4 parts. It's a one-on-one test most of the time. So I test them with their speaking skills, their reading skills, their writing skills, and their listening skills. On top of receiving a 4 on the summative, they also need to have good grades and good teachers standing in the classroom. They also needed to do well on the SBAC assessment or a local assessment if they're K2. And lastly, the parent needs to be in agreement, and we have a Washington Union School District form that the parent and I sit down and we go over it, and they sign, agree that their student is bilingual and they can go on to be deemed RFED or reclassified. And for those who do not know, if they reclassify, I do monitor them for 4 years to make sure that they are meeting those benchmarks in the school.
Lily, so SBAC is State Bilingual Assessment, is that?
No, SBAC is the CAS. So CAS, like the big, they test they take. It's CAS, but then it's broken down into SBAC. Yeah, lots of alphabet soup. I also thought this was really interesting when I was writing my reports that we have beautiful languages that are spoken in our Washington Union School District. We have more than 16 different languages. So I just thought it'd be really cool just to highlight the different languages that are spoken. Lastly, these are our summative scores. I really want to make sure that I have student confidentiality. So I did take away the grade and I did take away the student name. But just so you know, these are the scores. I also put from 2022 all the way to 2025. So it kind of paints a picture of how our students are doing. And then I calculated we had 3 students tonight who reclassified and they got 4s on the summative this year. We had 13 who received a 3. So on the next slide, I'll explain what we're my plan going forward. And then we had 4 students who received a 2.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
They're on the doorstep. I got a question.
Yes.
You're starting from 1. I didn't see any 1s.
I don't have any 1. Yeah.
If you start from 1, do you then assume it's going to take 4 years to get you to 4?
Yeah, and so they're deemed a newcomer when they come with very little language. But again, it's a great, place to start. So
Sure.
And I think our students are so well achieving that when they're in the classroom and they're immersed with the other students, I think they do a great job. I've been in school districts where I've had 400 students and 350 of them are English language learners. So I'm really happy to see that I think we can really push all these students this year to hopefully get a career.
Yeah, great.
So going forward, I had a meeting with our MCLE rep. And so what I'm hoping to do, and we've already scheduled this, is on December 17th, which is a Wednesday collaboration day. As you all know, I plan them all out. So I was able to take one away and put this in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over the ELD standards. And it's going to be, I told the MCLE rep, what I would like is our teachers here are so gifted. They're so smart. I just want a quick 45 minutes of what strategies they can use in the classroom. They can just add to their toolbox. I walk into every classroom. They're amazing teachers, and I just want them to have a couple of extra strategies in their mind they can use to help our ELD students. And then to go even further, I broke up the PD, and they're going to do a K3 band and a 4-8 band so that we're getting really in there on how we can help our EL students.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Are there any questions? And you're free to go. Thank you for coming, and congratulations again.
Very nice. We have J4, which is the update on town hall meeting.
Okay, so as you all well know, on the last Wednesday, we did have our town hall meeting to discuss the proposal to look into whether or not it would be in the best interest of the district to eliminate interdistrict transfers, which would place us by enrollment into community funded status. Obviously, it's an emotional issue. It's a difficult topic, and you know, I can't overstate that. I've said it many times, and I know it's a challenge for a lot of people to hear this hard information. So our responsibility at the district level is to try and gather as much information and input. So what we've done is we put a page on the website, and we're going to continue to place as much information as we have discussed at various meetings, various board presentations. We'll load that in there so that's available. What I will continue to articulate is that my door is open. I have had several meetings this week with community members, parents who had questions, whether through email or coming by my office, and we're happy to do that. Gerardo's in the office. We can sit down with you. We can go over, you know, kind of the budget pieces if there's something you don't understand. But kind of reviewing the town hall meeting, some of the information that I think really we want to continue to reiterate is the idea of the 3-year averaging for ADA, because the way we're funded under the LCFF, it takes in a 3-year average of our average daily attendance or the higher year, whichever, you know, or the current year, whichever is higher. So when we start talking about, there was lots of feedback on a plan to, if we go this route, to phase out. So what we have to look at is taking into consideration that 3-year average and the amount of time, you know, it could take the district to actually enter into that community funding phase based on that decline in the enrollment and as it progresses downward, if we were to do this. I'll continue to say if we were to do this because I do want to reiterate no decisions have been made. So, you know, the phase out plan could take many forms. There's the phase out where current students are continue until they're done. All the while, each successive year, we stop the practice of accepting interdistricts until we finally get to that point where every student who is currently a student has graduated or matriculated out, and then at the end of that, we're left with only in-district enrollment. So that's a possibility. Another possibility may be to phase out at the grade span. So perhaps if you know, when a student finishes Toro Park, that would be the cutoff. When they finish Washington Union, that would be the cutoff. And then when they finish middle school. The other option would be to just phase out at the middle school level. So all of those options are being looked at. Gerard is putting all of his numbers together and looking at that and its impact to the overall budget, LCFF funding versus the community funding model. So we're going to continue to look at it, present that information, and share that information as we have it. The other thing that has come up, either whether in emails or as part of that meeting, was the committee selection. I sent out a parent square that asks for interest. If you're interested as a parent, whether you're in district or out of district, if you're interested in serving on the committee, please return this form. And then at the meeting, we did it as a random selection. I received some feedback that there was maybe a sense that we were minimizing the importance of it by, you know, creating the color wheel and making an announcement at the meeting. We did make the selection ahead of time, and that was very intentional. I didn't want anybody to feel that there was something that was not transparent about the selection of the committee. we welcome everybody's participation, and anybody who was interested was welcome to submit their form for consideration on the committee, and we did it as a random selection. So I don't want to, it was not done to minimize the importance of anyone's participation on that committee. We built the committee based on the recommendations of Brett McFadden and Marcy coming out of the July 23rd meeting. The recommendation was very clear. You're going to have a committee, not more than 12, have representation throughout the community and the school district, which is exactly what we have done. And so that committee will begin meeting on October 1st. The other thing we've done coming out of that meeting is putting some research into looking throughout the state, not just at local control funding versus community funding, but looking at districts around the state to see if there are districts that are like ours, that are similar to ours in makeup and in funding, and see if there's anything we can learn from that. And so we spent some time over the past week doing that, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe because he's got some slides to share.
Okay. Yeah, as Gina mentioned, we have been doing a lot of research on other districts and what the funding model looks like throughout the state. Some of these slides are kind of shocking, so you'll be ready to see some interesting slides for funding under LCFF and community funding. So California is obviously the largest state in the nation. It's the most geographically unique and arguably the most socially diverse. With this diversity it brings about a lot of unique schooling options for districts across the state with vastly different funding profiles through LCFF. Are you LA Unified with 500,000 kids? Are you Death Valley Unified in the middle of the desert with 22 students K-12? Are you a boutique beach town like Laguna Beach Unified? Are you Tahoe Truckee in the mountains? Or are you us, right? And that's our job, and that's our task, is to figure out who we are and if there's others like us. And there is not many like us. We are a unique district across the state. I found one that is eerily similar to us, and we'll go through what they're going through at the moment as an LCFF funded district. So as I mentioned, every district's unique, all have positives and negatives. This is an incredibly challenging decision for the board, but it's our job as the administrative team to provide you with the most amount of information that we can, right? And some people are going to see this information, and it's a lot. Okay. So there's approximately 1,000 districts in California. The next slide is going to give data, and what we did was we removed the charter schools, we removed the COEs, the County Office of Education, and we removed districts that are less than 100 ADA, as they didn't quite fit the same funding profile. There's some districts out there that have an ADA of 2 or 1. So we removed those as they don't really, it's not comparable. It's apples to oranges. There's 820 districts that were remaining. We filtered out about 200 districts by doing that across the state. 820 was the total. Here we sit at 804th. 804th, lowest funded district in the state. Our total funded ADA is 727, and PPE is the per pupil expenditure amount. You'll see there that if you look at some of these per pupil expenditure amounts, they're a matter of dollars, right? The next person to us, North Cow Creek Elementary, is $11,357. So you're looking at a difference of $7 per ADA. So all of these are very close. The next one, Rescue, is $356. So it's a dollar difference. We're talking about a very small amount of money that these districts have. If you go toward the bottom, you'll see some areas that are more wealthy. If you think about it this way, you have Lafayette, Moraga, and Orinda as the lowest funded districts in the state, which makes sense, right? As you look at your numbers in the LCFF, they're not getting the funds, similar to what we are. Their unduplicated pupil percentage is low. So you're seeing that, and it's a bigger number, and it's magnified on a bigger scale. How do those districts survive in that? Here. You'll see that Orinda passed $110 million bonds in 2018, Moraga 52, Lafayette $70 million. Their bonds passed with flying colors, some of them in the 90%. And we in our district, as you can see at the top, we failed bonds in 22 and 24 by a really small margin. You'll notice there's a couple other failed ones. These ones, a lot of them were passed. Some of these really small districts, it's hard for them. So I understand. Happy Valley is in Santa Cruz County, and it's like 115 kids is their ADA. So they haven't had a bond pass. They're a very interesting school. You'll see here Waugh Elementary. This is our spirit animal, for lack of a better word. They're the district that is eerily similar. The next slide will show you how similar, the upcoming, not the next one, but in a few slides, you'll see how similar they are to us. Okay. And they failed a parcel tax in 2024. Keep in mind, parcel tax and bonds are going to be used for facilities and facility upgrades. Parcel taxes can go to your general fund. So Waugh, you're going to find out there's a reason they were trying to pass that parcel tax. And unfortunately it failed. Okay, community funding. So the next slide is going to use Gerardo's 18,985 PPE projected with a move to community funding. Some assumptions is that market fluctuations are possible, as always in any district, in any community funded district. Real estate market could play a role. Change in enrollment, increase or decrease, will play a role in the PPE. If we have more kids in the door, then that PPE is going to go down. If we have less kids in the door, that PPE is going to go up. A phase-out approach would determine how long it takes for us to move up on that list. Okay, remember we are at 804. Keep that number in mind because the next slide is going to show where we are for community funded. There would be fluctuation in the PPE due to the actual 3-year average, and Gerardo talked about that. That 18,000 would fluctuate for a couple of years as we got out of the 3-year average model. Okay, so this slide is where we would be if we used that money and we were community funded. We would go from 804 to 59. We'd be right with Menlo Park, South San Francisco, and many of the other community-funded districts. Just for a little bit of, we have neighbors that are community-funded. Carmel is number 7 in the state based on PPE, and PG is number 34. Carmel is the largest district. If you look at that list, 1 to 7, all the other districts are much smaller than Carmel. As you're looking at a lot of these basic aid districts, when you look toward the top of the list and even into here, they're like us, right? There are 170 kids, 500, 600, get 340, 611. When you look toward the top, they're small. Carmel is a huge basic aid district. Okay, enter Waugh Union School District. So Waugh is suburban Petaluma, an unincorporated area outside of Petaluma. They're a small district near really big districts, similar to what we are. Petaluma City Schools is big, Santa Rosa City Schools is close, and Rohnert Park Cotati School District is right there as well as another big area. They're 17% unduplicated pupil percentage. They have 2 schools. Now, here's the difference. They're both K-6 schools. They don't hold 7th and 8th in this district. 7th and 8th graders move up to Petaluma City Schools where they run a 7 to 12 model. Their administrative structure is the same exact as ours. They have a superintendent, a CBO, and a principal at each of the 2 sites. They're LCFF funded. They failed a parcel tax in 2024. That parcel tax was for $89 a parcel, and it needed 66. You need 2/3 for a parcel tax, and it did not pass with 63%. It would have generated $550,000 in revenue for their general fund, which you'll see they've released. They have 46 teachers, 37 classified staff. They're 40% inter-district. Again, another anomaly. It's really hard to find districts in the state of California that have as high of an inter-district transfer rate as we do, but here is one. Their funded ADA in 24-25 was 756. And then, as us, I'm preaching to the choir here. Suburban Salinas, near big districts, 14% unduplicated pupil, 3 schools, a little different there. The administrative structure is the same with 1 extra principal for our 3rd school site. We're LCFF funded. We had failed bonds. We have 43 teachers, almost the same, and we have the exact same number of classified staff at 37. We're 39% inter-district, and our funded ADA was 727. Here's the difference between the 2 of us, okay? This is their funding source, or this is them on the top, Waugh. This is us on the bottom. You'll notice that their property tax revenue is $2.8 million. Ours is $6.7 million. They don't have an option to go basic aid, community funding. We do.
You blow that up just a hair.
Mike has it. I can print it for you, Don. But
That's-
the gist of this slide is they don't have an option. They live in LCFF. That's what they're going to live in. Their property tax does not outweigh.
Gotcha.
They're
Yeah, they're not
outside.
even, it's not even.
They're not even close. They're not even close. So that's the difference between the two districts. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Ready, Mike?
That thing.
Here's, and Gerardo, please jump in. Here's their fund balance. You'll notice if it's in parentheses, that's an easy way to tell. They're definitely spending $1 million this year. They're trying to dig themselves out of the hole. They're trying. If you go down here, they're a little bit lower, but to me, it doesn't look like they're going to get out of that hole unless they make some really significant changes, which in reviewing their board minutes, they're trying to make significant changes, but it's hard. They're in a tough situation.
Those are unsustainable numbers.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Do you know? Just offhand.
They're trying to cut staff, but in 1 year they reduced 1 teacher. They went from 47 to 46 teachers from the year before. No, I don't really know what else. They're from what I could gather, it's hard to gather a whole lot of information without being in the meeting. But from the minutes, you can kind of get that they are making cuts. I just don't know what they are. Okay, something to talk about here. Fund 17. That means they're transferring from their reserves, so they're moving money to pay their bills. They're moving from their reserves to pay their bills. Just exactly what I talked about last week. For those of you who were at that meeting, their contribution to special education is a big issue for them. It increased almost $250,000 in 1 year, which is something that I worry about as a special education director. If we have one student that's incredibly high need that needs a placement or something like that, that could happen to us very easily. This slide is quick. It just shows their decline in enrollment. It's, Gerardo showed this before. They're dropping under 700. Again, probably about close to the same rate that we are in the drop in enrollment. So they're going to be losing funding through LCFF. Last slide is that this is their Fund 17. Gerardo, Gina, Kay, when she was here, and the board as a whole has done a wonderful job of building up our reserves. And this is an example of why that's so crucial. Here they are at the statutory minimum, having to refresh their reserves every year to meet the 4% limit. A lot of their documents have FICMAT stamped on them, which is the Financial Crisis Management Team that's state sponsored. So they are in deep financial trouble.
They're going to get taken over. And what is that number? I can't see.
It's 434,000.
They can't even pay their payroll if there's a late payment from the state like we see all the time. So
Gerardo can address that because I
they
think
have to
that's
borrow money to make payroll.
Yes.
So I did contact them. So what they're doing, the reason why they're borrowing money every year, they're borrowing from Fund 17 to Fund 01 in order to pay payroll. And then the next year they pay themselves back. So they've just been borrowing every year. It's just
They're paying interest on stuff. If you had cash in house, you wouldn't be paying that interest because
And,
they let their Fund 17 go to the bare minimum.
yeah. And unfortunately, their Fund 01 is at 0, so they're not accruing interest on Fund 01 because they pay it.
They just pay interest
They're
on
just-
payroll. This is a terrible situation. It's a good example of what we've been talking about for years.
Correct. And that's where, I was asked to find a district similar to us. I weirdly found this eerie situation where they are almost exactly similar to us. And then I saw their financials and it wasn't great news. So that's why I'm presenting this. It's not something I want to present, but it is something that we have to watch out for because this is our district right here.
That's good data, Joe. One quick question. Where does Boss sit in the total? We're at 804. Where are they at again?
They were below us.
10, I think.
Yeah, they were like 810.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in terrible shape.
Again, it was like $1. You're looking at minimum. So WA was at 276. You're looking at $100 difference, about a little less than that.
So 2 districts, similar size and everything, and they're in deep financial trouble.
Yeah, and they have no option. That's what we were talking about before. Is that's probably a situation where that district doesn't last. There's a giant school district right next door. It may be like an
It'll
absorption.
swallow them up. Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things that when I watch this and I see this is looking at how much this district has been doing over the last 5-10 years of, scraping along and saving things when possible and making sure we have a reserve, which is really helpful. But also just like we've been not updating roofs, we've not been updating parking lots, we've not been doing the things that we would like to do just because we're trying to scrape close to the bone. And it just makes me realize how much of a $250,000, that's a one kid, can make a difference to that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
You know, the parcel tax
Yes.
in the that they wanted to pass, the 550,000.
Yeah.
Was that at one time or an annual?
It was an annual. It was $550,000 a year. I can't remember what the term was. Most of the parcel tax are like, what, 6 to 8 years. Some are a little bit more. But some of the ones that I saw when looking at who had a parcel tax here, they have, whoever it was had a huge one.
Somebody just renewed.
Moraga has a huge parcel tax. They were asking for $89. Moraga's, if I remember right, don't quote me on this, was like $350 a parcel over 10 years. So
And that's-
Moraga,
That's different from a bond because really they're trying to fund their district on day-to-day operations.
it's going straight to their general funds, right? So that's Moraga can sit here all they want in LCFF because they have $52 million in facility bond and a giant parcel tax.
Oh, you want to add?
Oh yeah,
Joe,
we're
real quick.
going to talk about the LPFF calculator a little bit.
So we're in the town hall. One of the things that kept coming up was about the LCFS calculator. I do want to emphasize the main thing about basically community funded or LCFS is that we don't choose. Once you fall into community funded, you're in community funded. You can't say, you know what, I want to get paid by LCFF or I want to get paid by community funded. It's if you fall in, you fall in. So I know we were getting some feedback on what would happen if we start recruiting or getting more students in here. I'm just going to go over it real briefly, some of the information, just so you guys could see. I don't know if you could see. Do you want me to turn that? Yeah.
I just trust you, whatever comes out of your mouth.
Okay. Essentially, what I'm doing is I'm just going to be putting in data real life so you guys are able to see what's going on. I'm not changing anything. So it's very simple. The algebra calculator gets was constructed by the FICMAT, and every district, either community funded or even the county offices, need to use this in order to budget how much revenue you're going to be generating. So on here, I am estimating that taxes are increasing 2.5%. In reality, we're actually going up about 4.1%, but just to be conservative, I put it at 2.5%. Now, we get funded not on enrollment, but on ADA. So the difference, how do you calculate ADA? You multiply the attendance of the student that's in the seat to your enrollment. So we have 700 students, multiply that by 0.94. State's usually 0.92, but our enrollment, our ADA is normally like around 94. So what I went ahead and I did was I did different approaches. One of them was saying, let's say we get 900 students, right? So we get 900 students. What I'm doing is I'm simply going to get the ADA for 900 students. So as soon as I copy that, I bring it over to my algebra calculator. I'm going to put the So as soon as I paste my enrollment for 900 students, I have to go to my summary. My summary is going to tell me how much my total revenue is coming in. So just so that we could compare it to the other ones, I'm going to copy this. And as you will see, I have already done a few of them. And 900 students. So what I did, I had already done them. I'm going to just do the last one. I'll do another one just so that I don't do them all at the same time. I don't do them all because we're on the time. I'm going to do the phase of 6 to 8 and copy those, that 88, and I'll put it into my LCFF calculator. Go get my okay. So as you're gonna see that we figured out 6-8 by 27-28, we're already considered basic aid. And that's due to the calculator. The calculator is the one that's telling us, the state basically telling us, you are going to get funded on your community taxes, not based on students.
But that's using 900, right?
No, this one's using a phase out of 6 to 8. The other one was 900 students.
Yeah.
And then I'll do,
So these are state generated formulas.
yes. So I went ahead and I did a comparison of, we stay the same, we keep everybody in, and we just keep on either hoping to get in our districts. So what that one's saying is everybody's gonna graduate out and hoping we get 60 kinders that year. We do know Salina City is holding on to those kinders, and we probably have about 8 of them. So that's just a gradual of what's happening. Grandfathering in, that basically means we're keeping everybody gets to graduate out from TK up until 8th grade. Then the no phase, basically simply that one, what's saying is we go from 739 today.
739.
739 to 435 next year, or phase of 6-8. That basically means middle school stays, they graduate out. So we go from 746 when I had done it to 511, and then 900 students. That means we go get an additional 150 students, and then 800 students. As you can see, the comparison on the PPE. In 26, 27, we can go, even if we have 900 students, you're still at $11,000, 11,207. If you have 800 students, your PPE is only 11,392. If we do a no phase, you go all the way to 19,771. A phase of 6-8 is a gradual increase to 16,831, but it's because you're slowly moving up. And then grandfathering in, it's slowly going up, but it's only 12,519. The grandfathering in of keeping everybody in 2930 was it, I believe. Let me double check. The grandfathering in basically allowing everybody to graduate out. If you notice, in 2930, we are getting funded on taxes, even though we have 581 students. So you can have 581 students. Everybody's trying to graduate out, and at that point, your kinder is in 4th grade. So even though we're graduating everybody out, we're only getting the community taxes. So just wanted to show that to you.
So you're splitting, would you come up with a number of 551?
581.
581
students. So that
versus
your kinder student is basically going to be a 4th grade, and with their 4th grade, your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders that are coming into the district, essentially what I know one thing that was going in is that they're generating revenue at that point. Those inter districts are not adding on to the revenue. essentially.
You have about 181 students after 4 years that are generating $0 revenue.
Correct. And that's where that seesaw is basically, at what point are they not contributing? And
Right.
essentially,
You're doing this matriculating model. I get it. It's kind of hard in real time.
Yeah, exactly. We're on a short time, so that's why I just wanted to kind of briefly show it.
I appreciate it. And it's good that you show, like, you're just using the state's spreadsheet, right?
Correct.
You're trying to go over scenarios. This is probably needs to be distilled so people can understand it. So.
So Roberto, at 130 students, what is our PPE at that point?
At 130 students, they might go in sheet 7 at the bottom.
And Gerardo, I see these numbers. I had one quick question because I saw something. Do we have the county's fiscal year numbers for every district? Like this really cool report that they issue in December, right, for the prior year? Now that we're through the 24-25 school year, do we have that data for every other district?
Not yet, because we have to report the unaudited actuals. So once everybody turns them in, then the county fiscal analysts have to approve them, and they go through Colleen Stanley, which is the CBO for the county. Once they all get approved, then they construct that.
Okay, so rough time frame for this, because I think we need updated data, real data. Our analysis.
I can talk to Colleen Stanley and let her know that as soon as they approve them, if they could just start sharing information over.
I would appreciate it. This is an awesome report, but it doesn't come out till December.
Yeah, no, I'll try to get it as soon as possible.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. That's a lot of work on those scenarios.
So you said at 900?
580.
580. Oh, that was
the 581.
14,699.
And then if we just stayed at 800 or 900 students in the future, it's still pretty much similar to
we're the same. But one thing that we do have to take into account is we're currently at 739 students. So to be at 900 students, we need additional staff. So you'll keep the same we'll get that revenue, but now we need to get more staff.
Yeah. And that 900 is assuming the same unduplicated rates, right?
Train staff for everything.
And then that'll never happen because we're in declining enrollment and everybody else is too. And they're stopping giving us inter-district transfers. I just want to be clear that that's never going to happen. It's not a realistic deal, period. The 900 students.
No. Yeah, I just wanted to, because there was a comment, I believe we received that. What if we go get more students? So,
right. That's a perfect example of how it doesn't work.
Yeah.
There are no more students. Thank you.
Questions?
That's a good summary. But yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move up to action items, and we've moved up to K1, the approval district and actuals. Do you know what time our principals have to step out?
As soon as Gerardo's done, then I'm going to send the principals over.
Okay.
All right. So just to go over the unaudited actuals, for those that don't know, the unaudited actuals is actually what actually happened throughout the year. We're just budgeting. We're trying to, we just did the budget in June for this upcoming year. So we budget, but what actually happened, this is what's going on. And so we have to report this to the county in order for them to approve it to go to the state. So last year we did get an increase in the COLA, which is our base grant essentially, of 1.07%. We did add 1% with a 2-year agreement back in 23-24. 1% added on to the salary schedule. Our 3-year average, I'm sure you guys already heard that a lot, but in last year was 709, but because our enrollment, essentially our ADA was higher, we did get funded on the current year. Current year last year was 24-25, which was 724.46. So the calculator chooses which one's higher, 3-year or your current. This is a summary of our assets and liabilities. Our assets and liabilities last year, our total assets totaled up to $5.7 million. We had $5.5 million in the county treasury. all of our revenues and in all funds, total revenue came in at 11.1 million. Our expenditures, though, did come in at 11.3. The net was the deficit of 269. Our beginning fund balance was 5 million. We ended up at 4.8 million. So our ending balances by fund, we do have a few funds. They're all different and used for different purposes. So Fund 01 is our main one, which is our general fund. We ended up at 1.8 million. We do have an additional 382,000 in restricted resources. So that's just, they have a reason, they have a purpose, and you can only use them for that. You cannot use, most of them you can't use for salaries. Our child development ended with 102,000. Cafeteria 1,400. Our deferred maintenance 542, which has been rolling over with interest. Our special, our Fund 17, as you saw compared to all, we're actually at 1.9 million compared to 400,000. Did increase quite a bit thanks to our interest, almost 88,000. Our developer fees did increase quite a bit as well to 900,000, and then our schools facilities ended at 59,000. So the difference is what happened between 23-24 ending compared to 24-25. Our biggest difference in our general fund, that was our biggest one. Deficit of 465, and I'll go over that briefly in one of in a future slide. Our child development did decrease 4,000, and then our biggest ones was our developer fees at 118 increase, and our special reserve, our Fund 17 at 88,000, which was interest. So as long as that one's in there, it just keeps increasing on interest, even if we don't add in. As long as the market is doing good, it will keep increasing. So our general fund by year, I wanted to keep adding on to this one. So I have it from 2016 all the way to 2024. The difference that you're going to see is in 23-24, we ended at 2.8 million. And in 24-25, we ended at 2.2. Like I said, I'll go over what's going on and why. For me, it was why. Why is there such a big difference worldwide? Our unrestricted, this is not taking into account the restricted resources, like I said. We did end at 1.8, so we do normally assign a portion of it. We have truck reserve at 25,000. We have our mandated reimbursement at 128,000, and safety and security at 300,000. We added that one back in the end, or I think in Trump 2 of 23-24, if I recall correctly. And then our budget contingency at Fund 01 at 1.4 million. So, question, why, right? I couldn't sleep for days. So, I had to go back because I was losing my mind. So when we adopted the budget for 24-25, we were projecting to have an ending balance in 24-25, June 1.8 million. We did end the year at 1.85. So we ended higher than we had projected back in 23-24 because remember, we always adopted June of the year prior. So when we adopted in 23-24 for 24-25, we had projected 1.8 million. We were slightly above it. But for me, why the 600, right? So I started looking into that, and a lot of things played out. In 23-24, the ending balance of a few restricted resources, a few grants that came through, they all kind of paid up, fortunately. Slowly, like one at a time, they started adding up. So we have our WOOF. WOOF was generous enough in 23-24 to, they gave us their check of 100-something thousand. So the total, the ending balance in 23-24 was 132,000. So that one normally gets added in 24-25, but when we deposited it, hit the books 23-24, increasing 132,000. Arts music ended at 210,000. Our educator effectiveness which we've been chiming away at it slowly, ended at 56,000. And then our ELOP was a rollover of years prior, 94,000. Friends Club had 25,000 at the time, and then Southwood had almost $20,000. When we ended 24-25, the majority of those funds were down to zero or a big difference. The big when we ended 23-24, we had 539,000. We ended 24-25, we only had a total of 222,000. The majority of it coming from arts and music.
Just for clarity's sake, sorry to interrupt. What is, just for everybody else, ELOP and SELPA? Could you just say what those are?
So SELPA is a resource that was passed. Now we're taking over. Back in the day, the county used to give us money, and it's mainly for special education. So there are different resources, and you could use it for different reasons as long as it fits the criteria. So some were like our Tucci and some other items. I kind of spent it out from there. So it helps relieve the general fund a little bit.
ELOP.
And the ELOP is the Extended Learning Opportunities Program. So that one, when we first were enrolled into it, we didn't use it in 22-23, so it rolled over into 23-24, and so we've been using it. It's either you use it or you lose it. So this past year, 24-25, we had to that's how we paid for YMCA, the after school for time for me registration. So we were able to do that for some of the students. And then some big ticket items that during 24-25 our budget. I don't know if you guys recall the conversation we had back last year. Our budget arrived in July. So you technically cannot pay the year prior. We had budgeted out in 23-24, but because they arrived 2 weeks after the year started, you have to pay them out of the current year. So we paid them in 24-25, even though they were budgeted the year before. So that kind of rolled over. We did get a new van. We're still waiting on a reimbursement from MBARD. MBARD is the Monterey Bay Air Resource Department here. We do have a charging station, but we do have a grant for $170,000. We did buy a new tractor. If anyone has seen it, and we had to buy a new scoreboard this past year. So that all totaled up to $489,000. Another thing, PG&E. This is the reason why we went solar. In 22-23, we were paying $119,000 a year. In 23-24, that went up to $146,000. When we did our budget for 24-25, we were projecting about $150. No, but what happened? We ended up paying $209. So a lot more than what we had thought we were gonna pay. Luckily, I did see one of the bills already for PG&E for this current year. Total is active at the moment, so that bill went from $20,000, $21,000 all the way to $9,000 now. So
Good. Just in time. Good thing you
yeah,
planned on that.
no, yeah, that's why it's just like
So, and then real quick, when are we supposed to get the reimbursable grants from them?
So they take some of them are faster than others. I'm still waiting on a CalShape grant from last year, and that one's going to be about $67,000. So all those ones they get, we put them back into the reserve.
What's the total on all the grants for the buses?
The buses, so the 3
charge.
buses, those grants were paid, but the 3 buses at the moment we're working on a tax reimbursement for EVs, and that should total up $120,000.
Okay. The credit or take it off of your?
No, it's a credit. We get a check for.
Okay, great. So those will offset. Bottom line, we had to incur costs because we didn't get the invoices until days after. So those are the hits that total. We had less revenue from the ELOP and the SELPA, and then you add that to increase costs that had to hit that year. That's your 600.
Yeah. So our capital assets increases that are we'll start seeing them. Last year, some of the main projects, we did solar, we were able to embed the roofs. I don't know if you guys have seen, but the roofs look way better than what they did. Roofs here in San Venancio have been done. And then Toro Park, like I said, the solar project has been completed. If you haven't had a chance, you can go check it out. Enrollment, For 24-25, like I said, we got funded on 724.46. We get funded on the P2, and I'm so sorry it's small, but I just want to keep the 80 for as many years as I can, so I haven't really attended ADA funding. So the last one that we used to get funded for was in 2011 at 942. So about 200 difference. So our current year, last year, our current year was, but now it's 739. When I have done it, I thought it was 736. In July, I had done the budget for 715. The revenue is based on, for this upcoming year, is going to be based on prior year, not current or 3-year average, because last year was higher than the average of the 3 years or our current year. So multi-year projection. This is just going to be a quick projection of next year, and it could go many ways. There could be savings, there could be additional grants that come through. So our beginning balance is 1.8. We're projecting to finish and at 1.8, about 15,000 more next year. If nothing changes, we should be projecting about 1.6. The following year, 1.3. But that's all a question on can it happen. That's if we don't do any changes now. If I don't find savings, if I don't start trying to find grants, but how long can we keep that up? So this is just going to be an overview of everything that did happen last year, what we had budgeted for back in June of 23-24 compared to what actually happened up until the end of June 30th of this past year. As you can see, our ending balance was shy of what we had projected by 67,000. That's it.
In your multi-year projections, what's our, are you budgeting like any big cost increases like we just incurred last year? I mean, are you just kind of going very, like, where are you conservative in that budget?
It adds this is currently using our enrollment trend that we're using, and it is using, I add 5%, roughly give or take 5 to 4% on expenditure increases. One of the biggest increases that's going to be coming up is going to be our curriculum adoption this year. That's why there's not that. It's a big hit, but our curriculum adoption, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be.
We decided to forego it, yeah.
But for next year, right? It's going to be history or.
It depends. The state doesn't have any.
Yeah. So for the 26, 27, 27, 28, those are, I know that we have adoptions coming up. So those are going to be probably our biggest items coming up.
So if I look at this, our revenues are going down into the future. Expenditures are spiking by almost 250,000 next year, but they're reducing the next year. So we're not going 5, right?
No. And another thing here that I am also increasing is our contribution to special education.
Okay, so you are being conservative on that, which makes sense.
Yes.
You could have a $250,000 swing.
Yeah.
Any
year.
Yeah. And based upon the governor's budget that was issued in June, right?
Yes.
What were the big outcomes of that? And as far as cost of COLA increases that you could project into the future?
That one, the projection in COLA right now, for this year, it's 2.3, but for the following year, it's only increasing to 3. That's the highest, actually, 3.57, if I'm not mistaken, or 2.57. Sorry, I don't want to give the wrong number, but I could look it up. Actually, you know what? Could you pull up the Algebra calculator real quick? That one will give me, so that's like, you scroll up, actually in data entry, and then scroll up. Oh, wait, scroll up. It's going down, sorry. Keep going. this and like I said, this is all already pre-entered by the state. So 2.3 for this year. Oh, you're right there. Next year, they're projecting at 3.02, and then the year after 3.42. So the average is 3%.
Okay, so they're increasing that. So bottom line is we're deficit spending because of the issues you explained. And on the three, so we have to reconcile on your unaudited actuals.
Right.
So in the end, the bottom line of what our budget was versus where we ended up, what is the total that we're deficit spending?
The total was 67 from what we had originally budgeted to what we ended.
Gotcha.
That was by 67.
I just want to make sure we had previously talked about those costs hitting. So you allocated for that. So on this huge budget, we're only deficit spending by 67 this year.
Correct. 24, 25.
Yeah. Okay. And then on your multi-year projections, we'll work on those.
Yeah, of course.
I need more detail. I don't know.
No, the multi-year, it's hard to assume that anything can happen.
Oh, yeah.
And
So
so
you're assuming our current status of funding and everything.
correct. Yeah.
A lot of assumptions. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerardo.
That was the end of the discussion items.
That was actually an action.
Oh, that was actually, okay, that would be, yes, sorry. 2 errors in a row.
Yeah.
All right, so that was, we need an
I
approval.
move that we approve the unaudited actuals for 24-25.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so, now we are on to now it's K2.
Yeah, I'm
approval
gonna
of
go
the-
ahead and send my principals over to Spreckles so that we can finish up. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of resolution 2025-2605 declaring sufficiency of instructional materials.
so this is again, that we talked about in the public hearing, this is the Williams settlement resolution that guarantees that we have available standards aligned student textbooks, we have appropriately assigned teachers, and we have safe facilities.
I move that we approve.
It's a resolution, so it's a roll call vote, so we'll do a motion and a second.
Okay, so motion,
I move that we approve.
I'll second. You go ahead. You did.
Second.
You beat me.
okay, John?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and then approval of resolution 2025-2606 certifying that expenditures do not exceed the district's GAN appropriation limit.
Yeah, the GAN amendment was Proposition 4 back in 1979. It essentially sets limits on how much growth we can make as a district in what we're spending. So we set those limits each year, and we have to stay under that limit. So our limit for this year is a little over $6.7 million, and we're under the limit at 6.38. So we do not exceed the limitations imposed.
Just one information, I move to approve.
Second.
Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then final approval of resolution 2025-2607 recognizing October 12th through 18th, 2025 as the week of the school administrator.
Well, they're not here, but we do have a
How
resolution,
ironic.
so if you'd like to read it,
Sure.
we'll be celebrating that in October.
All right, so resolution 1, Washington Union School District resolution number 2025-2607, recognizing and honoring California's week of the school administrator. Whereas California's week of the school administrator, October 12th through the 18th, is a time to recognize and celebrate outstanding school administrators. And whereas the future of California's public education system depends on the quality of the school leaders to provide the leadership and direction that is essential for schools and districts to fulfill the mission of public education and prepare all students for success. And whereas outstanding school administrators inspire and lead new challenging innovations, are change agents who actively challenge the status quo and are advocates for students and their schools. And whereas student administrators train, supervise, and motivate faculty, including teachers and classified staff, and also monitor the effectiveness of school practices and their impact on learning. And whereas gathering support from the entire community, school administrators ensure the safety and health of students, recruit and retrain the most highly qualified teachers and staff, provide the fiscal accountability and resources to advance education and to reach their ultimate goal for student achievement for all students. And whereas every student deserves quality education opportunities, and through effective leadership, proactive approaches, and the diligent efforts of school administrators, student learning is fostered and goals are achieved that lead all children on the path to success. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Trustees of the Washington Union School District adopts resolution number 2025-2607 to commend all school administrators, during California Week of the School Administrator for the contributions they make to achieve the mission of public education for the students entrusted to their leadership.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I move to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
All right.
Aye.
Resolutions.
Aye.
Aye. And we have K5, approval of board policies.
Any questions?
I move we approve the board policies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep, nothing for second reading. And approval of the consent agenda.
You better about Felix.
Yeah.
Sad.
We're trying to get him to a meeting so we can recognize him and honor him, but yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Any questions or comments before we make a motion?
Okay.
Motion.
All
All approve?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then we have future meeting dates.
October 2nd, maybe?
October 2nd, we will have our annual board retreat. We'll review our governance handbook. And got a couple other things we're working on to the agenda. We'll continue our discussion. And we're going to have a discussion about PI as well.
Great. Thank you.
And right there.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you.